Page 6, questions 34 through 40. Question 34. Refrigerants are characterized by their physical properties including flashpoint, refrigeration effect, and others. Of the refrigerants in commercial and industrial use, the highest latent heat and refrigerant effect is ammonia. The highest latent heat and refrigerant effect among refrigerants in commercial and industrial use would be from ammonia. Question 35. On what characteristics is ASHRAE refrigerant safety group classification system rated? Flammability and toxicity. The ASHRAE refrigerant safety group classification system rated based on flammability and toxicity. Question 36. Of the following, an example of an inline refrigerant cleaning system that may be used with the centrifugal compressor containing R123 refrigerant is refrigerant recycling. Refrigerant recycling is an inline refrigerant cleaning system that may be used with the centrifugal compressor containing R123 refrigerant. Question 37. Information about the physical and chemical properties of a hazardous material can be found in Material Safety Data Sheet. Information about physical and chemical properties of a hazardous material can be found in the Material Safety Data Sheet for that substance. Question 38. What is the function of the turbine auxiliary oil pump? Establish oil pressure during turbine startup. The turbine auxiliary oil pump establishes oil pressure during turbine startup. Question 39. The rupture disc for a low-pressure centrifugal refrigeration machine is normally located on the compressor suction. The rupture disc for a low-pressure centrifugal refrigeration machine is normally located on the compressor suction. Question 40. What is the primary reason ripped metal piping is used for electrical wires connected to the refrigeration system shown below? It allows for flexibility and accounts for vibrations. Ripped metal piping is used for electrical wires connected to the refrigeration system because it allows for flexibility and accounts for vibrations. Page 7, questions 41 through 47. Question 41. A multi-cylinder reciprocating compressor uses cylinder unloaders to regulate capacity. What would not occur if some of the unloaders fail to operate when needed? The chill water temperature will increase, is not something that would occur. If a multi-cylinder reciprocating compressor's cylinder unloaders fail to operate when needed, you would not see an increase in temperature of the chill water. Question 42. As shown in the picture below, the suction gauge of a condenser water pump reads 55 pounds per square inch. The pipe supplying the pump is 75 feet long and 12 inches in diameter. Approximately how many gallons of water do you expect to obtain if this pipe is drained completely? 440. If the suction gauge of a condenser water pump reads 55 pounds per square inch, and the pipe supplying the pump is 75 feet long by 12 inches diameter, you could expect to obtain 440 gallons of water if the pipe drains completely. Question 43. A water chiller system uses refrigerant R123. A leak in the evaporator shell may result in a higher than normal high side pressure. A leak in the evaporator shell of a water chiller system that uses refrigerant R123 may result in higher than normal high side pressure. Question 44. Capacitors are used on refrigeration motors. Of the following, the function of these devices is to store electrical charges during starting and running the motor. The function of capacitors is to store electrical charges when starting and running the refrigeration motor. Question 45. Of the following, a centrifugal refrigerant machine is best characterized by high-volume low-pressure machine. A centrifugal refrigerant machine can be characterized as a high-volume, low-pressure machine. Question 46. Which of the following ASHRAE refrigerant safety classification is the most flammable? A3. The most flammable ASHRAE refrigerant safety classification is A3. Question 47. Which of the following correctly describes the object in the picture? B. Bang out. Standpipe hose outlet. To put out fires in case of emergency. The item pictured for question 47 was a standpipe hose outlet, to put out fires in emergency. Page 8, questions 48 through 54. Question 48. Modem compressors usually seal the rotating shaft as it exits the compressor housing with a spring-loaded seal made of metal or carbon. The spring-loaded seal for the rotating shafts of modern compressors is made of metal or carbon. Question 49. The British thermal unit BTU is the measurement of heat of energy. If 10 BTU are transferred to 10 pounds of water, the water temperature increase will be closest to 1 degree Fahrenheit. A transfer of 10 BTU to 10 pounds of water raises the water temperature by around 1 degree Fahrenheit. Question 50. A reciprocating compressor cylinder has a 10 inches bore and 14 inches stroke. The volume of refrigerant, in cubic inches, will be closer to 1099. 1099 cubic inches is the approximate volume of refrigerant in a reciprocating compressor cylinder with a 10-inch bore and 14-inch stroke. Question 51. An electrically operated control requires 24 volts to operate. To change the available 110 volts to 24 volts, transformer. A transformer is the device that can change the available 110 volts to the 24 volts required by the control. Question 52. In an indirect refrigeration system, of the following, the one that would not be used as a cooling medium for the building spaces being cooled is R22 refrigerant. R22 refrigerant would not be used as the cooling medium for the building spaces in an indirect refrigeration system. Question 53. On a steam turbine, what would cause the atmospheric valve to open? All the answers are correct. Low vacuum in the surface condenser, leaking tubes in the surface condenser, and dirty tubes in the surface condenser all can cause the atmospheric valve to open on a steam turbine. Question 54. You are the engineer running a 2,000-ton, steam-driven turbine centrifugal refrigeration system. A refrigeration system supplies chilled water to a college campus with multiple buildings. Making your rounds, you notice that condenser water pump number 1 is making a lot of noise. The discharger gauge reading of the condenser water pump is fluctuating drastically, and motor of the condenser pump number 1 is running very hot. Which of the following actions would you take? Turn on pump number 2, shut off pump number 1, and troubleshoot pump number 1. Given this scenario and the issues presenting in pump number 1, the engineer should turn on pump number 2, then shut off pump number 1, then troubleshoot pump number 1. Page 9, questions 55 through 61. Question 55. Electric devices may be used to provide built-in defrosting of refrigeration machine evaporator units. These devices are classified as resistors. The built-in defrosting electric devices of evaporator units are classified as resistors. Question 56. The flash point of compressor lubricating oil should be higher than the compression temperature. The flash point of the compressor lubricating oil should be higher than the compression temperature. Question 57. The primary way of achieving capacity control of a centrifugal compressor is by adjustment of the impeller inlet pre-rotation vanes. Adjusting the impeller inlet pre-rotation vanes is the primary way of achieving capacity control of a centrifugal compressor. Question 58. Cooling tower water requires the addition of chemical additives in order to reduce the formation of scale and algae. Cooling tower liquid requires chemical additives to reduce the formation of scale and algae. Question 59. In the picture below, describe the equipment's function. Remove non-condensable from the condenser. The equipment pictured in question 59 functions to remove non-condensable from the condenser. Question 60. The viscosity of lubrication oil is described by a number. A low viscosity number describes oil that flows easily. A low viscosity number indicates a lubrication oil that flows easily. Question 61. The most likely reason for a refrigeration engineer to use a psychrometer is to measure relative humidity level of the atmosphere. An engineer typically uses a psychrometer to measure the relative humidity level of the atmosphere. Page 10, questions 62 through 67. Question 62. The most important reason to use at least 2 compressors in a cascade system is to avoid very high compression ratio for each compressor. Having at least 2 compressors in a cascade system is important to avoid a very high compression ratio for either compressor. Question 63. The suction service valve of a reciprocating compressor is front-seated, and the compressor runs until the low-pressure cutout shuts the compressor off. When the machine is stopped, the refrigeration engineer notices that the suction pressure increases rapidly. The most probable cause of this pressure rise is malfunction of a compressor valve. If a reciprocating compressor shuts off and the suction pressure is rapidly increasing, the most probable explanation is malfunction of a compressor valve. Question 64. Regarding the functioning of a steam turbine, why is it advisable to keep moisture in the inlet as low as possible? Keeps turbine blades wear to a minimum. Keeping moisture in the steam turbine inlet as low as possible minimizes wear on the turbine blades. Question 65. According to the attached material safety data sheet, RB4 is a clear, odorless liquid and vapor. MSDS describes RB4 as a clear, odorless liquid and vapor. Question 66. Under normal condition, the refrigerant enters the compressor as a low-pressure superheated vapor and leaves as a high-pressure saturated liquid. Refrigerant normally enters the compressor as a low-pressure superheated vapor, and leaves the compressor as a high-pressure saturated liquid. Question 67. While operating an R22 single-acting compressor system, the refrigeration engineer noticed oil foaming in the crankcase. This condition most likely would have been caused by a sudden drop in the crankcase pressure.